Spike Lee's 1998 forgotten masterpiece, He Got Game.
The #1 basketball prospect in the country.
The tale of a high school basketball prodigy,
Jesus of Coney Island.
in the age of big money commercial sports.
He got game.
Set and released in the last dance season of 1998 and starring NBA Hall of Famer Ray Allen.
Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang!
As protagonist, Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Oh, Jesus.
And two-time Oscar-winning legend, Denzel Washington, as the father, Jake Shuttlesworth.
Why you gotta use all this kind of language, huh?
How does it hold up, and what is the significance of this movie? Feel free to like and subscribe, and let's find out. Lee brings an underrated story of inner city aspirations and corporate greed.
If you want the best Jesus, you come right this way.
In a world created by the legacy of Michael Jordan.
Yo, Mike, what makes you the best player in the universe?
All y'all talking about is Jordan that.
In terms of why He Got Game works, basically I'll put it to you like this. It's Spike Lee in his prime, post Malcolm X, post Crooklyn, post Clockers, post Do the Right Thing, post Jungle Fever, making a film at the end of the 90s about the end of the 90s.
Platinum and diamond Rolex. Gold, forget about it.
I.e. the way the game was, specifically when the hunt for the next Michael Jordan was on, in terms of marketability and global economics at the end of the 20th century during the last dance season.
To Garnett. Back to Kobe. There's no business like NBA business.
Unlike other movies, you have Ray Allen, an actual basketball player, as the protagonist, the young kid everyone wants to get a piece of money-wise. Allen actually pulls off a competent performance, not Marlon Brando-esque, but it doesn't just feel like a guy reading lines.
Everybody else is.
I can't believe this, I really can't.
Initially, Spike wanted Kobe to play the role, but Kobe didn't want to do it, and therefore Spike, as we know, is the master of cultivating performances from lesser-known actors.
Your daddy is West Indian. My mom. I like you, country.
How come we got no brothers on the wall here?
You want brothers on the wall? Get your own place. You can do what you want to do.
So Spike is at the top of his game, cinematically speaking, using all his knowledge about the game, teaming up with one of the best actors of the decade, and using all his artistic merits and his ability to pull out performances, making a film about the here and now, in the here and now. In terms of the Mount Rushmore of great basketball movies, I think all of them came out in the 90s. You got White Men Can't Jump, you got Hoop Dreams, which was a documentary, but we count it as a film. It came out in the cinema. Above the Rim. He Got Game is the complement, and it's the natural conclusion to all of those earlier pictures that came out before it. The other thing is those movies actually helped commercialize and globalize the game of basketball. At the same time, the athlete Michael Jordan was helping to globalize the marketability of the NBA and basketball.
Snoop Dogg is the name dog.
Going 4 inches over the summer the way you did.
Hey, you know something? Michael Jordan came down to the beach one time. Took me to the hole, baby.
It's a thundering plays like
The only reason Penny Hardaway went to play with Shaq on the Orlando Magic is because they were both in Blue Chips together. Before He Got Game, there was such a symbiotic relationship between basketball movies and the NBA. He Got Game illustrates how financially lucrative
You got any idea where you're gonna go with this thing?
this whole basketball sensation is to an up-and-coming athlete.
Apply for the NBA draft now. The money is there.
When you have the NBA promoting the game of basketball as the American sport over American football or baseball. The greatness of He Got Game in terms of the all-time great basketball movies is that it comes after all these movies, and it's like a final statement at the end of the decade about where the decade is now as a consequence of all this commercialism.
Hey, how much your finger this buys?
there's no business like NBA business.
The money you and I are gonna make together, you can buy 20 of them if you want.
In terms of Denzel being in his prime in He Got Game,
I see it.
Yeah, you think that?
yes, this is a more kind of understated performance, but it's still during the duration of his prime.
I don't have a lot of time, so make it quick.
All right, well, I got even less time, so I'm gonna make it real quick. Look, son, why don't you go on, what you got there, Range Rover?
Son.
Why don't you go and get back in your Range Rover?
Malcolm X is probably his best role.
Don't you ever
Don't you ever!
try and cross someone who ain't afraid to die, you hear me?
He didn't get the Oscar for that.
That's not even important.
Then he won the Oscar for Training Day.
This is the game. I'm playing his ass.
Some people feel that was a compensation Oscar, but the point is he was still the man in Training Day. He Got Game is in that period of time, is within that spell, but it's more the characterization of the American loser, but this is the unfortunate loser who had a lot of spirit when he was younger, would have had a lot of potential, but not everybody gets the same breaks, so now he's trying to put all his energy into fulfilling his son's potential, but he's still stuck in the projects of Coney Island, and he's trying to get his son to become everything he could have been. The performance of an unfortunate character who gets trapped in the criminal system.
Maybe we can start being father and son again now. Can
You
we
ain't
do
my
that?
father.
And thus this great performance can tend to be overlooked because it's not as glamorous or sexy as some of Denzel's other roles. The scene with Rosario Dawson,
You haven't talked to him today, have you?
Nah, I haven't seen him.
He's waiting for you?
He's my big brother.
It's your big brother.
you can put that scene with any Denzel scene.
Yeah, I can see the resemblance. Yeah, what y'all like, Dominicans, something like that?
No,
Cuban?
Boricua, baby, thank you.
Jay's the old guy who's a convict, but he's still got some flavor.
Listen, Layla,
Lala.
whatever.
That whole scene with the stupid DeAndre guy, the stupid agent.
Yo, don't be.
I'm not trying to disrespect you.
What you got there, son? A Range Rover?
What you got there, Range Rover?
There's shades of brilliance that you would only get, really, in my opinion, in his peak. So in terms of the sense of time, i.e. this is a movie at the end of the 90s, about the end of the 90s, the DeAndre character, who's like a secondary agent and he's just a leech, that's so exemplary of a post-Tupac world, post all the hip-hop, all the black arts and entertainment, sports, music, film, comedy, etc. Black Americana, Afro-Americana, whatever you want to call it, is now just Americana. And therefore there's so much money to be made off of the entertainment industry that the DeAndres of the world, who's essentially just a third level agent making money off of money, develops an ego as if he himself is the star. But he's not picking up a microphone, he's not picking up a basketball, a baseball, and he's still making secondary, tertiary money off of artists. This guy essentially is a leech. He doesn't care about Jesus Shuttlesworth. He's sleeping with his girlfriend.
No thing I don't know about that DeAndre kid either. Did you f him?
So what?
A character like DeAndre, bless him, could only organically come around at the end of the decade when we've seen the course of the 90s play out. That's number one. Number two, the Jordan 13s, the Last Dance Jordans, heavily focused in the movie.
So you got new Jordans, I see.
These are the new Jordans.
That's it, huh?
Very much a Last Dance era movie.
Gave him the crossover, then he shook him.
This movie comes out in 98 and is released before The Last Shot, and they've already got the 13s. Not to mention, we're in a post-96 draft Stephon Marbury Coney Island world.
Came out of Coney Island, but most of them didn't amount to shit.
What about Stephon Marbury? He made it.
I was a high school sports reporter.
Back in high school, sit, Bogan line.
So having Ray Allen in the lead role, for me, is a genius move on the behalf of Spike Lee, and here's why. The movie's based partly on the 95 draft, where you got Kevin Garnett directly from high school coming into the league, but more so the 1996 draft, where you had the geographic inspiration for the film, Stephon Marbury, but more so Kobe Bryant, a high school senior, directly into the league, predicted to be a big star one day. On top of that, Ray Allen is part of that draft, still young enough to be believable as a high school student. So yes, it's the second choice, but he's organically part of the 96 draft that was essentially the inspiration for the movie.
He got game.
He was an NBA player at the time, but the layman fan didn't really know who he was. His chemistry in terms of with the sister coming out of Crooklyn
I'm afraid.
made it an organic story. His chemistry with Rosario Dawson as the girlfriend role.
At least I can admit it.
Oh, so it makes it all right that you admit it. Go.
No, I'm not saying it.
There was enough talent around him, and he had enough within him
You want to play me one-on-one?
One-on-one.
to bring out a solid performance. Basically, I'm watching it and I see him as Jesus Shuttlesworth, not as Ray Allen.
My name is Jesus.
I almost forgot, I've got to say, Rick Fox,
Fox.
I know you will take care of business.
the mature entertainers, just adds to the movie, man.
Holler if you need me, man.
From a prediction standpoint, essentially he got game predicts LeBron James, a high school player that goes straight into the league, basically in his prime.
I know you consider jumping straight to the pros.
His whole legacy has been he's the next greatest of all time.
I want to be the greatest of all time.
That one right there made you the greatest player of all time.
This whole Michael Jordan 90s greatest of all time thing.
Do you feel that Michael is the best ever?
I think so. Not only the best basketball player, but probably the greatest athlete that's ever played any sport.
Was very, very financially lucrative.
Between the shot clock and the game clock, Jordan, yes! And it counts!
And therefore, the corporate people are on the next big hunt for the greatest of all time.
Very few players that give you 40 minutes of everything. Michael Jordan give you 35.
The money is there.
Jesus. I want to be the greatest of all time.
He got game.
In terms of the parallels between this movie and The Last Dance season,
Allen kicks it out. Ron Harper was right there. He's got MJ on the left side.
you got to remember, He Got Game was filmed and came out in 97-98. The Last Dance season was 97-98. That ending scene,
I play you.
the one-on-one scene,
One-on-one.
where Denzel's playing to get his son to sign to go to college.
I win, you sign. You win, I go back to Attica because I know that's what you really want, right?
That whole scene has this tremendous kind of melancholic, torch-passing feel to it.
Oh, why you do? Oh, yeah.
It's very reflective of Michael Jordan in his last 2 years. It's a torch-passing era. You know Michael Jordan's not going to do it in a few years, but he's doing it now. He's playing for his legacy.
It looks like he's a boxer just hanging on.
The whole sense of a eulogy, a torch-passing moment, the end of one period, moving to the next period. The best one-on-one scene of basketball in the fact that it was scripted and improvised.
In the scripted version, Jesus Solar is supposed to be his father, Jake, 12 zip.
7 to a lucky 5.
7 to a lucky 5.
It's got this kind of Spike Lee at the top of his game. It's got a poetic feel. It's Spike understanding cinema, Spike understanding the game of basketball innately on both ends. It's just a beautiful scene that captures the feel at the end of the 90s.
Jordan, open. The last shot Michael Jordan will ever take.
We're now approaching the new era. The corporate century is now upon us, and the decade of manifestation that built all of that is starting to fade away. The melancholy mixed with optimism at the end of He Got Game mirrors the bittersweet feeling at the end of the 90s. Emotionally, it was the same. Years later, we realized He Got Game was not good, but actually great. We realized the 90s ended, not in 99, but in 1998. The premature breakup of the Chicago Bulls was like a cinematic murder mystery. Who planned it?
Jerry Reinsdorf, Jerry Krause, most hated man in the history of Chicago sports.
So much so that the director of He Got Game could not understand it.
What Krause and Reinsdorf to do it, I don't understand
it. So ultimately, conclusively, He Got Game is one of 2 movies being the best basketball movies ever.
White men can't jump.
He got game.
It's a great movie, mid-budget, probably Spike Lee's best forgotten movie. It was still within that period of The Last Dance. Some people don't like the ending. There was the side plot line with the hooker character. Denzel's kind of seeing her. People didn't really get that. I'm like, if Spike made a movie in under a year, as opposed to keep doing numerous drafts until he perfected it, I'll take the fact that he managed to bring it out just before the 98 season finished, just before Jordan retired, so he still captured that spirit.
These are the new Jordans.
That's it, huh?
For me, it's sense of time meshed with great performances from Denzel, solid performance from Ray Allen, great ensemble cast around the 2 of them. I'm gonna give it a solid 8.2. If you've made it to the end of the video, like I always say, feel free to like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.
He got game.